This is David Goggins, known as one of the toughest and strongest men in the world. He is a retired Navy SEAL and has completed some of the most challenging branches of the Navy, as well as Army Rangers School and Air Force Technical and Controller Training. He has completed over 60 ultramarathons and ultra-endurance events, often finishing in the top 5. He also holds the record for completing 430 pull-ups in 17 hours. Remarkably, he achieved all this with a heart condition that limited his oxygen supply by 50% compared to his competitors. His story is so intense that it will give you chills, and you won't be able to sit still after hearing it. Let's find out how he achieved all this and where his journey began. David explains that life was like a nightmarish dream. Although he was born into a wealthy family, his father was an alcoholic and heavily abusive. His father inflicted both mental and physical torture on his mother, and David's mother eventually left him. This toxic environment damaged David's brain as much as polio or other brain diseases would, limiting his language skills and memory and making it difficult for him to retain information. Compared to other children, his intellectual level was significantly lower, and he faced racism at every stage of his life. From ages 19 to 30, David's life took a turn for the worse. During these years, his weight increased from 79 kilograms to 136 kilograms. At 23, he worked at a pest control company, where his job involved going into people's homes to exterminate bugs and cockroaches. At that time, David was living a purposeless life, facing numerous problems, and his mentality had deteriorated severely. One day, while watching TV, he saw a show about Navy SEAL training, described as the toughest military training in the world. This inspired him to join the Navy SEALs. However, when he disclosed his weight of 136 kilograms, he was immediately disqualified. Despite numerous attempts, he finally received an exception, but he was informed that according to his height, the weight limit was 75 kilograms, meaning he needed to lose 50 kilograms in just 3 months. Imagine losing 50 kilograms in 3 months. It's an incredibly challenging task, but David was determined. He began by confronting himself in the mirror and telling himself, no matter how harsh or painful the truth, he had to join the Navy. One day, while working at the pest control company, he threw his machine aside and started running, only managing 400 meters before collapsing. He then spent weeks training at home and, after watching his favorite boxer, Rocky, get up after being beaten, he was motivated to keep pushing. He began running longer distances, eventually breaking the mile mark and discovering that many physical and mental limitations are just mental barriers. He trained hard every day, pushing his limits, and eventually lost 50 kilograms in 3 months and passed the Navy SEALs test. David then attended Navy SEAL training, which included a grueling 5-day hell week with minimal food and sleep. The instructors aimed to make as many members quit as possible, often taunting them. David, however, was determined to prove them wrong and led his team to persist through the extreme conditions. His team performed admirably, and despite the freezing cold, they continued to push through. David reveals that during training, the mental toughness developed, known as calloused mind, becomes as tough as a calloused hand after enduring hardship. This mental toughness makes it easier to handle pain and discomfort. For instance, when you face difficulties, your sympathetic nervous system activates, increasing hormonal flow to help push your limits. When you persist despite discomfort, it becomes easier over time. After completing Hell Week, David decided to tackle the Badwater 135, one of the world's toughest races, to challenge himself further and raise money for fallen soldiers' families. Despite his size being atypical for a runner, he completed the race, pushing through extreme conditions including sweat-soaked clothes, blood in his urine, and deteriorating nails and feet. David explains that whenever he felt like he couldn't continue, he remembered past achievements as motivation. He referred to these achievements as cookies, akin to rewards he received as a child when he performed well. He used these cookies to fuel himself, and keep pushing. If he could lose 5 to 6 kilograms in the first week, he knew he could continue in the following weeks until he achieved his goal. David Goggins' story is full of struggles and resilience. This summary is just a brief overview of his life. If you want to learn more and get motivated by his story, you can read his biography, which is available via the link in the description. I hope you found this video inspiring. To watch more such videos, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. See you in the next video. Goodbye.